station.
If you want to chime in what's happening in your favorite KFAN shows, you can. Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. So let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. A number is 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Trying to find on the fly here Sam Darnold's statistics for this season. I think I did find them. In fact, maybe the better way to do this is let's go to NFL quarterback rankings. Maybe that's the answer rather than just getting his stats because we need the comparison. Let's go to, for example, let's go to QBR 2025 regular season. That's the fancy quarterback rankings that ESPN prefers. And let's see what this tells us. Number one ranked quarterback, regular season, National Football League. I would not have guessed this. Top QBR by almost 5 points. Drake May, New England. Your guy second, Jordan Love, 72.8.
Funny.
Brock Purdy, third. Stafford, 4. Josh Allen, 7. Daniel Jones, 8. Mac Jones, San Fran, 9. San Francisco's got 2 quarterbacks in the top 10 in QBR. That's pretty good. Looking for... Still looking. Sam Darnold, 19th. 19th at 56.0. Now let's do the other quarterback ranking, shall we? Let's go to, hold on. Let's go. I can't find it via ESPN, so let's look elsewhere for this one. QB ratings. NFL passing stats. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on a second. I'll get to it. Why is this difficult? Quarterback ratings. I thought ESPN had, well, we'll go to Pro Football Reference. We'll go that way. And what we are looking for here again is rating. Well, I can't find it. See if you can find the old-fashioned. Here we go. Here it is. I found it. So in the old-fashioned statistics on quarterback rating, Drake May, number 1. He's had a pretty good year, apparently. Matt Stafford, 2. Your guy, Jordan Love, is 6.
It's pretty good.
Darnold fares better here. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. He's 11th in the old-fashioned quarterback rating. So creditable at 99.1. Let me get some of his stats more specifically for this season. 17 games, 25 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So what's fair to say about him at this point? Not that he's the number one reason Seattle is in the position they're in, but he has played creditably. He's been better than average, at least according to the old-fashioned quarterback rating. So the cliche applies that football is set up in a way that if you're a quarterback on a winning team, you're probably going to get a little more of the credit than you deserve at times, and perhaps more of the blame than you deserve when it goes the other way. Lately, I think you feel like he's almost back to quote-unquote game manager, Although even in the last game, though his overall numbers weren't impressive, he had a couple of very nice throws that he indeed made. So trying to project what he might have done if he'd stayed here, it's very difficult to say. I think the Seattle defense is better than the Vikings, but the Vikings defense by the end of the year was statistically quite good. What now?
It's over.
What happened?
Dolphins are hiring former Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley as their head coach.
You're unbelievable.
It's done.
This isn't Packer preview.
That affects the North.
Well, yeah, it does, but I don't think people here would say it's over. They might celebrate that. They look at it very differently.
I suppose I shouldn't have came in like that.
I
that
thought
is breaking news.
I thought it was B-Flow, but then when you said the Miami part, so Miami ain't rehiring him. I don't think it could be that. So he's gone, huh?
Yeah, it's all over.
It's all over.
So, defensive coordinator spot in Green Bay, wide open. Flores is going to get a head coaching job, though, most likely.
That would be a delicious story if he.
Oh yeah,
would it not? I mean, I don't think we can count on that though. I don't think he's going to go to Green Bay. I think he's going to end up with a head coaching job. I think there's a very good chance that's what he ends up with. We'll see. Somebody is asking also for. Let's get to the. Let's see. Why is this set up in a way where I can't get to where I want to? Let's go back to NFL QB stats. I know this is riveting for people, but for some reason my computer is acting very strangely. NFL passing stat leaders. Let's get to, but I don't want the, it keeps going to the, here, there's the postseason. Let me get to 225 regular season, and let's get to QBR. Somebody's asking what J.J. McCarthy's QBR was by the end of the season. And I don't even see him on here.
I've got him at 36th in the league.
Oh yeah, the reason I don't see him yet is because I've got it through 28. So he's even below that. You're saying. Mm-hmm. So he was below Cam Ward. He ended up finishing below Cam Ward. That's not easy to do.
So
Geno Smith.
What I've got.
What's his actual rating?
His actual rating, J.J. McCarthy's is 35.7.
Oh, okay. So he didn't have enough games to qualify.
I'm on Pro Football Reference.
Okay.
And he's above Geno Smith, Cam Ward. He's below Tua and Justin Fields.
That's not good. It's not very good at all. So, look, I don't know. Again, I don't want to turn this into Sam Darnold is an MVP candidate. He is not an MVP candidate this year. No one is suggesting he's an MVP candidate this year. And I don't want to do the revisionist history because a lot of people were not all that interested in keeping Darnold. But I'll continue to say what I said yesterday and many times before. If there are people tired of all the second guessing and the projecting that's going on, the only team to blame, the only individuals to blame run the Vikings and play quarterback for the Vikings. If you get on the board with more serviceable quarterback play, not great, serviceable quarterback play in your first year, there's not as much chatter and muttering about all the other options that you had, including, as we talked about yesterday, Bo Nix. It won't come up. Be like, well, that's cute, but our guy's doing fine. He's not doing fine. He hasn't come close to doing fine, and he hasn't gotten close to being capable of staying on the field. So that's why the projecting goes on. And if he's included among guys who are still playing at this late date, it's going to tell you that I don't think there's anybody saying that Seattle is winning in spite of Sam Darnold. I think they're saying, yeah, we could use a little more from him, but he's actually made a number of plays over the course of the season that have been helpful to a team that already's got a really good defense. There comes Sig. Sig's coming into the stadium. He looks focused, too, doesn't he? Look at him. Does he not look focused right now?
He never doesn't.
That's a good point. He never does look anything but. And in honor of Sig today, my lunch, chicken bowl, Chipotle, extra white rice, no beans. Now, unlike Sig, I asked for shredded cheese. No sauces, though. Nothing extra. He's a purist, too. Don't like any extra stuff in there. And it tasted pretty good, I got to say. because the word is that Sig has had that same meal, is it 500 straight working days, whatever it is, it's been for 2 years since he's, I think, been at Indiana University. Here's another reason why the Bears and other teams should feel sick about squandering an opportunity to make a playoff run. Seattle just lost their best running back. He's out for the season. Is it pronounced Charbonnet? He's a nice runner. He is powerful, resourceful. And I think he's either has undergone surgery or is about to, but he's out, will not be available for the NFC title game, correct? Why is your brow furrowed? Why is the Brett Blakemore brow furrowed? Oh, I thought were you seeing something different?
No, I was.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that hurt Seattle. My point is I know, again, they'll still be favored. They're at home, all that stuff, but God, what a wide open year. Let's put some bonus bucks in somebody's hand, shall we?
Let's do it. The Fan wants to give you a shot to win that bonus bucks, the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. Keyword is happy. Keyword is happy. KFAN.com. Keyword happy. Bonus Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. It's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. To learn more and to enter the keywords, head to KFAN.com. KFAN.com.
You know what's very reassuring and comforting is that even on a legal holiday, we can always know that Larry Mondello guy is always ready and willing and a contributor. I mean, a lot of Shecky Green types would mail it in on a legal holiday, right? They'd say, well, we're happy for you, but I got other things to do. But we can always count on the comedic stylings of Larry Mondello guy. For example, it's game day, so you ate the same things your favorite team's head coach for lunch, and yet you give Guardsy crap about his rube habits. You're like a 12-year-old boy. That's the heart of rubidity. I wouldn't call that Larry Mondello guy's best material, but okay. I would also say that the fatal flaw about the Larry Mondello guy, first of all, Larry Mondello guy is the classic never take me seriously. But he tends to be more literal in analyzing the comedic stylings of others. Like he really means that's the reason I had Chipotle today when I eat Chipotle, that meal, and have once a week for probably the last, I'd say 10 to 15 years of my life, constantly. But to each their own when it comes to comic stylings. I would just say, Larry, remember there's a chance that others are bidding it out a little bit, as in bitting it out a little bit, as much as you are. I got ways to go to match Guardsy's rubidity when it comes to, I think, fan material. Although I am wearing, what am I wearing? I'm Indiana football. Mm-hmm. I got an Indiana football hoodie on, but I've been wearing that for, well, let's see, at least the last 2 years. I think I got it halfway through last season, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody wanted to know the exact Darnold stats for the last 2 seasons, how they compared in Minnesota last year, Seattle this year. Quarterback rating, last year 57.3, this year 56. Old-fashioned quarterback rating, last year 102.5, this year 99.1, so slightly better. A couple interesting stats, though. Touchdowns, 35 in 17 games a year ago, 25 with Seattle this year, so 10 fewer. He threw 12 interceptions last year, 2 more interceptions this year. He's thrown this year about, looks like 70 fewer passes than he did a year ago. On the other hand, he was sacked 48 times last year, and he's only been sacked 27 times this year as well. I think it's the touchdowns number that had him on a higher plane a year ago, 35 last year as opposed to 25 this year. That might have a lot to say about it as well. The elephant in the room is still that if we would have drafted even average, we would have had serviceable backups in this dumpster fire called our offensive line. Quarterbacks ran for their lives every single game. Starters played together, 2 games? Terrible drafts lead to zero depth. Here's another in an endless series of Kwesi needs to go texts. We've had about a lot of them. Go to the top of the list here. I texted earlier in this season. Did I read this already? Did I read Solon Blaine? Yeah, no, I don't think I did. That we botched our quarterback this situation this offseason, and it would haunt us more than the Herschel Walker trade. I'm even more convinced. We had a franchise QB in the house that won 14 games for us and had instant chemistry with our best player in JJ. What a painful offense we had to watch this year. It was offensive at times. It's bad when you would have probably have had a better chance of the playoffs with Wentz over the guy you anointed as our answer. So Minnesota, we would mess up the one thing we have been looking for years, a young franchise quarterback in Darnold. Well, I don't think Sam's that young anymore. I'm still not sure I'd call him a franchise quarterback. He's clearly a better quarterback than Jefferson. Daniel Jones is clearly a better quarterback at Jefferson than McCarthy. Jonesy is. Aaron Rodgers was this season. And despite not having a particularly distinguished QBR, Bo Nix was A, better, B, more available than our guy was. So all those things I think need to be put into the mix. The point of this isn't to overrate Darnold or pretend, as I said, he's a top 5 candidate for MVP. He is not. He was closer to that a year ago until that bad end. And again, I look back in the end, if I had to redo anything, I would say I might have put too much blame on Darnold and not enough on other aspects of what the Vikings offense, including offensive line, including game planning, including play calling. I think all of those played bigger roles. Darnold had a piece of it. He has to own that part. But I think it was a little bit more mixed. And you can argue the Vikings may have suspected it on the basis of how hard they worked to remake their offensive line. I mean, they pretty extensive changes, and unfortunately, those changes did not pan out very successfully, one could say. I hate Sean Payton as much as JG, and I like KOC, but I wonder if the difference between Nix and McCarthy is a coach willing to adjust his offense to the quarterback versus one expecting the quarterback to adjust to the offense. I think it's a fair question. I really do. I think it's the one of the open questions surrounding this head coach. I watched Ben Johnson last night, one could argue, be almost too stubborn running the ball on a night where they had to remake their entire offensive line, and they were just the reason I think the number one reason the Bears lost that game was their short yardage forays were way too unsuccessful especially by their standards. They had endless difficulties getting a yard and a half on 3rd and 1. And they're used to getting that yard pretty easily. And he kept handing the ball off. But I think some of that speaks to his sensibility that he believes that's how you help any quarterback. Now, his guy was throwing well at times, not from a percentage standpoint, but certainly making some big plays. But I think he still has already, as a head coach in his first year, a better appreciation of helping out my quarterback more than KOC does at this late date. And sadly, because of the success he had with Darnold throwing as much as he did last year, I think in his world, that's confirmation for him, validation that, yep, this is the way to do it. And I would say he still hasn't figured out the value of the run. The value of happened a couple times in the game yesterday, running on 2nd and 10, which actually the Bears did okay. The problem the Bears had, as I said, was on short yardage 3rd down and even 4th down. They were very unsuccessful running the football. Bottom of the hour break. About an hour from now, we will preview the national championship game, Dateline, Miami, Florida. Rick Bozich, IU. There's a Rube. You want to talk about Rubes? He is an Indiana University football Rube. He will help us preview IU and Miami. And we'll find out if an IU victory might force him out of retirement, because he just retired a few months ago from sports writing. Could this be the inspiration to get him back in it? I don't know. But we'll get into all that in about an hour. Top 5 at 5 in about a half hour as well. Don't go.
The 2026 Progressive Minneapolis Boat Show. Sales in the Minneapolis Convention Center January 22nd through the 25th. And check out a wide selection of boats, boating gear, must-see attractions, and fun for the whole family. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar. KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Mondello guy's back. It's okay to be a rube, Dan. This is about as rube-like as I can get. I'm delighted to find out from you earlier in the show that I won't miss the start of the game, Indiana-Miami, because we're out 15 minutes early. We're going straight to the Minnesota Wild pregame show. Who are we playing tonight?
Toronto Maple Leafs.
The Maple
in
Leafs.
Toronto.
Okay. So we'll be out about 6:15-ish or so. 612 guy, Kwesi didn't call the plays in last year's Rams and Lions game. KFC's the problem / issue for long-term Super Bowl success. Dan, why do Minnesota fans and even KFN personalities rave about KOC and B-Flow without one postseason victory? Head scratcher. Maybe the low bar for Minnesota sports. Darnold stats last 2 years. 2025, 14 wins. 2026, 14 wins. Well, winning does supposed to be part of it. It is supposed to be part of the thing. Even if no one would, I think, suggest that the team is built around Sam Darnold's passing ability. And again, maybe that was the mistake last year. You get some of those fancy numbers that he had and you start believing we can build everything around him, as opposed to you got a nice quarterback, better than you've had before, and let's make it easy for him. Let's try to build around him, do other things that give him maybe a better chance to succeed. How about that radical idea? I think that's too radical for some people. Another dismissal today. The Buffalo Bills fired their head coach. Is that confirmed, or is that just a media report?
No, it's confirmed. It's over.
9 years? You look up how many years?
Something like that.
I think it's 9. He had a 1-loss record, even better than your guys. And by the way, you're extending, right? You're locking in.
Yeah, you're doubling down.
LaFleur, you're saying, we're not moving. We're not budging. We're not panicking just because the Gerbschmidts of the world said changes have to be made. Changes are coming. I'm actually impressed by your club's approach. I'm not sure I would have recommended it when you lose the way you guys lost. But let's face it, in 2025/6, the easiest thing in the world to do is to fire the head coach. Takes the pressure off. You get the adrenaline rush because the assumption is the next guy is going to be better. Statistically speaking, chances are it'll be worse. But you want to believe we make that one change and everything's going to be fine. You guys decide to double down. What's the name of the Buffalo coach who just got
Sean
dismissed?
McDermott.
McDermott's out.
Mm-hmm. 9 years.
9 years. I'll check his 1-loss record, but he had now, is his 1-loss record because he's a great coach, or is it because he had a really good to now great quarterback?
Well, I've got it. It's 98-50.
98-50. How many 98-50 coaches have been dismissed with that kind of that sort of winning percentage?
Well, here's the kicker: his playoff win-loss
8-8.
8-8.
Yeah, not great.
Mm-hmm.
The issue there is the obvious. The assumption is if your quarterback is as good as people think he is, then by God, one of these times you got to at least get to the Super Bowl. And the pressure this year was the usual excuse. Well, who's better than Patrick Mahomes? It's like playing against Michael Jordan. Patrick Ewing never broke through because he had his accident of birth. He played in the NBA the same time Jordan did. Several other players, Charles Barkley included. But this time, Mahomes wasn't a factor. Burrow wasn't a factor. Lamar Jackson wasn't either. And that's probably what chaps the rear end of people in the Buffalo Bills organization saying, well, we should have broken through. Now, is it his fault that his QB had his worst turnover game in history, ever, I think, in the postseason? Probably not. But somebody's going to take the fall, and it's the old deal of, okay, we're kind of tired of that same voice. The shiny new penny always ends up being superior. Now, what's interesting to me is, look who's on the game day set, by the way. It's your guy, Belichick, in his Carolina blue. He's got Saban to his immediate right. Where was I? The Buffalo job, by definition, becomes the most attractive of any that were available this offseason, correct? What's a more attractive job than Buffalo's right now? I can't think of any. Who would even be?
Baltimore is
Baltimore, you're right. Baltimore would be up there. You're right. That's fair. But
shiny new stadium in Buffalo, franchise QB.
That's also true, yeah. Still got to think a lot of football in them. So I have not heard any rumors for that job. I'll be curious to see who might be front running there. But how many of these jobs have been filled?
It's a good question. I just saw it. I think 3 is the official. I need to find it again.
Look for it again.
And I saw the current.
Once you get it, just start interrupting.
Okay, I got it.
Oh, perfect. So what do we got so far?
Right now, the Giants, they hired Harbaugh.
That's it.
Falcons with Stefanski.
Stefanski's back in the saddle.
And then Jeff Hafley, my guy.
Your guy.
To Miami. So openings are Bills, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Titans, Raiders, Cardinals.
Did I actually hear that the front runner for the Titans job is the former Bears head coach who's now returned back to Kansas City? What's his name?
Nagy?
Nagy.
Well, I think he's gone, too, because they just hired his replacement, I think. So.
No, did Nagy get the job? That's what I'm asking. I thought he was the front runner for Tennessee. What do you mean he's gone?
Well, I know Bieniemy is back in Kansas City.
But I don't think Nagy's gone from Kansas City. I think... But I believe I think he's viewed as
anyway.
Somebody will have to explain to me why he's a front runner of anything. I don't understand why he deserves another chance. I think he's got a connection with the guy who runs the franchise. I don't know. We've talked about it with Mason over the years. It's a funny phenomenon because for fans don't think in terms of flesh and blood, right? They don't think in terms of, well, that's people's livelihoods you're talking about and families that are involved. And it's how can you be so cavalier about saying, well, it's time. We're tired of that voice. But what people have to understand is fans don't think that way because, as I said, they think of each of these coaches as symbols. They don't really think of them as flesh and blood. And so for them, it's, well, I'm tired of getting close but not winning it. Now, obviously, if you compare that to, well, what if you never made the playoffs or you made the playoffs once every 5 years and had a losing record 4 out of every 5 years? What's worse, that or leveling off and not getting to the big dance but being a factor every year? Well, obviously, the former is worse, not being a factor. But you're conditioned on the basis of what has taken place before to look at even success differently if you feel as if the success has leveled off. Even if, that record that you mentioned for Buffalo guy, that's a tremendous regular season coaching record. Now, postseason is 500, but 8-8 is not horrible. But that's inevitable. Now, usually, I think there's some owners who do get influenced by fans. Some owners have become more and more like fans. Others are a little tougher. They say, well, whatever the fans think, I can't. I can't allow that to dictate where I'm going. But my larger point is, it's for fans and media, it's a spectator sport. It's probably they're tired of the voice. They need a new voice. That's one of the cliches. Does it apply? Is it fair? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. But if you're stuck with your team, as you said, the only chance you have maybe at least in your mind, to change the inertia that has set in, or the feeling of we're kind of mired in whatever plateau we're on, we're kind of stuck there. You say, well, bring somebody else in. Maybe a different leadership style. Maybe he shakes everything up. Go back to Denny Green. First day he walked in, new sheriff in town. We loved it. I praised it because to me, that's exactly... The Vikings then needed a new sheriff in town. It wasn't that Jerry Burns didn't know how to coach. It was a feeling of certain complacency had set in, And let's see if this other guy who's going to come at it a little harder and doesn't have the built-in relationship so he feels like he can do more, sort of make the changes that need to be made. And I think that's what dictates a lot of owners making the decisions they do. And, you could, even in the case of Tomlin, ultimately, I guess he decided that he just had enough for now, if you believe that. But, you'd say that's a hell of a run. Should you be that unhappy or feel that bad for that individual after 20 years in a business where it's amazing if you last 5, let alone 10 or 20? I don't know. But I will grant the Glenn Mason point that often it's the adrenaline rush, and the proof is always going to be post-adrenaline. What are the real day-to-day ramifications of what you did? You felt good doing it because it's fun. It's exciting. Kind of tired of that other name. You're tired of his shtick. You're tired of what he has to say. And you want to get this other guy you don't know quite as well, or you haven't heard him utter the same cliches over and over because you haven't paid as much attention to him, and then it just feels fresher. Sometimes it goes nowhere. However, sometimes that different voice helps. Sometimes that different voice actually makes a difference with players. Maybe it is easier for them to pay attention. Maybe they were turning off that other voice. Maybe the head coach who's been there forever, even if he's been a good coach, gets too set in his ways and doesn't adjust, doesn't become flexible enough to make those sorts of changes. So this is going to be a year where one of the off-season stories or one of the early season stories next year will be given, what do we end up with? Was it 10? I think with McDermott, I think that was the 10th. I think that was the 10th dismissal or 10th coaching opening over the course of this offseason.
Yes, that would make 10.
So that's a third of the league. That's got to be high even by NFL standards. So one of the stories going forward is going to be, okay, which of these worked out and which of these did organizations kid themselves that really the problem had more to do with talent? Buffalo, I thought I heard either from the owner or from one of the big shots that we have to sort of redo everything that we do, which, again, what does that mean? It sounds impressive, but what does it really mean? How does that be more precise with that? You're going to take a whole new look at everything. In what sense? Maybe Vikes can bring in McDermott as defensive coordinator if Buffalo moves on. That's an interesting thought. I'm not ignoring the Vikings quarterback play this past year, but you guys make it sound like if only we'd had even an average quarterback, we'd be guaranteed a playoff win or two. If you consider the entire rest of the team was pretty mediocre. I actually believe, and I think we get lost in this because we're in it every week, I believe the quarterback play was worse than the perception of it. I really do. I think, and I do believe the notion that the quarterback play can elevate the rest of a team, and I think it can also make that team descend to a place that makes it look worse than it actually is. And I think this was pretty damn bad. We'll get some of the of our offensive statistics because I think people forget just how hideous at times we were. I mean, we were in historic territory for a few games. This is something we maybe will talk about with Kevin Seifert as well. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line is 64686. One of the questions moving forward is going to be if you do lose Buffalo, who does become your defensive coordinator, and it's unlikely that the next guy is going to be able to call it the same way because this stuff when it's your defense and it's your approach. Everybody's got their own stamp they want to put on it, whether they should or not. And I think we would have almost as many questions about the defense as we would the quarterback situation going into next year. Now, you could say the defense played well enough. You got enough people coming back. Whoever becomes the coordinator should have a chance to do something with that group. I'm not so sure about that. I think if Flores leaves, I think it would be a very, very big loss. A couple more texts that I wanted to get to. Sound like we need looking at.
You mentioned what's worse, a coach that's constantly in the playoffs doesn't do anything, or a coach that's only relevant once every 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're the latter, where you're only relevant once every 5 years, it's not your fault because you don't have the NIL money that the other schools do. So you can't really.
That's true. We hear that a lot.
Do anything about it.
10% of your audience might think you're funny wishing we kept Darnold. 90% think you're a Richard. You weren't pounding the table for him, and you know it. That's from a familiar 507 guy. 507 guy is one of those guys who constantly rips and yet constantly listens. It's an amazing thing on that. But I'll say the 507 guy, I stand by everything I've said on Sam Darnold. And what I said was, it felt very difficult to actually consider 3 years, $100 million for Sam Darnold. I did not think it was crazy to franchise him. I said it a bunch of times. Sean Salisbury and I talked about it. So you can pretend to remember something I said or you think I didn't say, and if it makes you feel better, go ahead. But that's what I said. And what that also conveniently leaves out is from the beginning of the offseason, I said I would take the plunge on Aaron Rodgers. Now, the Daniel Jones component, I wasn't pounding my fist on keeping Daniel Jones. However, what I didn't know at the time, I didn't even realize that we were in the Daniel Jones sweepstakes as much as we were. But what I will say is, what became abundantly clear is that they wanted Jones. But what also became abundantly clear is Jones was smart enough to understand that they were not really going to make this an open quarterback competition this past season in training camp or the offseason. So he did the smart thing. If they'd have been willing to say, we're going to have a competition, is it possible he might not have left? Yeah, I think it is possible. But to pretend that it's only now I'm bringing up all these other quarterback names, it's just false. It's just demonstrably false. I don't know what to tell you. I know what I said. Now, I don't know what 507, I have no way of knowing what 507 guy was thinking at the time because he doesn't have his own show. If he got his own show, maybe I have a better understanding of it, but I'm not. I guess you could find it somewhere in in all the podcasts if you really want to work at it. But we discussed it. Now, with the way the season ended, was I saying you have to bring Sam Darnold back? No, I was not. But I was from the beginning, even as a guy who liked the McCarthy drafting, who thought it was worth taking the shot at him. I also felt there was so little known about him at this level that coupled with the decision the teams, the organization made, the decisions they made in this offseason, which was to load up. Nobody spent more money this offseason than we did, which would seem to indicate a belief that you got a pretty good infrastructure around him, at which point I'd say, you know what? Maybe you put it off another year before you hand him the keys. So none of that's revisionist thinking. It's anybody who's listened to this show is well aware that that's been the position, at least of the host of this program, for quite some time. Do we have top 5 at 5 today? Are you prepared for it?
I am.
What do we want to get to, or what are we going to tease?
Well, we got to make Kevin Fallon happy and preview a matchup in Toronto.
Are they any good, by the way?
They're okay.